Hello, mic check. Hello. All right, look good. Camera never looks as clean as it should, but don't care. Sneezed on camera like a professional. You know, I have like the 10 years on radio. I don't think I've ever sneezed on air.
Really?
It's just like your body knows. It's like pooping on an airplane. Your body just knows. It's like, shut it down. Not right now.
I'm very cautious about what I eat before I get on a plane because I don't want to shit on a plane.
Never coffee. I always see people who get like coffee or like hard alcohol on the plane, and I'm like, whew, you're brave. Not this guy. I don't need coffee vodka shit. No one wants that. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hello, welcome to episode 380 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Philly Esports. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have Yikes of the Week. As always, we have breaking World of Warcraft gaming news as they announce the expansion. So Anuj and I, as avid WoW players, will discuss, as well as the VCT Masters and RMR EU. Do we want to just call this the Major 1.0? Possibly. And then as well as e-news. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about Philly Esports. You know them. They are our good friends, the good dudes of the year, as they host number of monthly events. You can sign up if you're in the Philly area, as well as sometimes online, now that, that's always a part of our lives. But this weekend, April 23rd, a Trios in-person event sponsored by the U.S. Army. Prize pool $2,000 for Apex Legends. So you and your buddies go at it, go play. It's free sign up, no excuses. Become a pro. PhillyEsports.gg.
Hey, it's Simple from Navi, and you're listening TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 380 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, April 19th, 2022. A happy 420 for those listening to this episode right now. Time.
It's 419, isn't it?
But when they're listening in the podcast world,
Tim, all millions and millions of people are tuned in live right now.
True.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't want to peel back the curtain, but yes, that is very true. Every one of our listeners listens live, which that also might not be false looking at the numbers, but you never know. But happy 420 to those listening on 420. I hope you are partaking in the devil's lettuce responsibly. It is 8:53 p.m. Central Time. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. Our Discord is in the link there. If you ever see us on any game, feel free to reach out. We always are looking for people to play with, and we will adjust for the listener. We are a show by the people for the people. If you see us on Destiny 2, because yes, we've already cycled out of whatever game we said we were playing last week. We're gaming ADD is in full effect, folks. So if you see us on, you want to play something, hit us up. And if we got it, we'll hop on. No questions asked.
Unless it's like new WoW expansion time, Tim.
Well, but we're no longer in gaming ADD mode, though.
That's true.
That's true. We have picked the game and we're in it to win it. So there's that. My name is Tim. I'll be your host, your captain for this journey into esports. But alongside me, as always, you've heard him. He's my best friend. He's my brown friend. It's Anuj with his special guest, his puppy dog in the background.
Yeah, we got Finn over here chewing on a new bone, which I'm sure is coming through the mic from time to time.
Is.
Like, I know it has to be. It's loud with my headphones on. Yeah, I'm solo dad today. I'm the one that had to push the show back and couldn't ask for another pushback time here. So we're just doing it. Baby sleeping, dog chilling.
As dads, we just bear the cross.
It is what it is.
We do what we can to support the family, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, and we get it done.
And look, allergies have destroyed my life over the last 72 hours. I think Saturday morning it really started full effect, and it has not let off. So
I mean, I was sometime last week. It was the same thing. You're like, "Hey, you want to get on?" It was like 8:30, and I was like, "No,
I'm asleep.
I don't. Like, I cannot look at a screen right now. I will die. I will physically die if I have to look at a screen." So allergies are real here in Texas. It's just that time of year. It's something we got to live with. But you know what's also real, Anuj? The new WoW expansion. As earlier today, Blizzard finally sat down as a little pre-recorded roundtable. Little highlights for those who missed it. They're all about the community. The community. They want you to know that. I wish I had time to go pull the recording and just edit out in like the first initial conversation, right? How many times they said the word community, Anuj?
I mean, probably like, okay, so we're giving them a little bit of shit on this, but I will say it does, at least so far, feel like they listened to community feedback based on the limited updates we got today, right? I say limited. We don't. There's so much we don't know about the expansion. But with the info we got today, although they said the word an annoyingly, like, I don't know, probably 50 times in the first 15 minutes, it did feel like the feedback was at least received for now.
For now. So for those who don't know, it is World of Warcraft Dragonflight. So you are now going, they said back to Azeroth, which I chuckled when they said that, because then they were like, but we're going to a new island in Azeroth. I'm like, okay, that's not really what people were saying when they wanted to go back. But
Dragonflight was an area that was made during vanilla WoW, and they never opened up that part of the zone. Like, people have been able to like extract data for that zone, and so it's like it's on the map. It's just not something that's ever been active to us until now. But yeah, I mean, look, let's just kind of jump into it, because this is not even a segment. This is just us talking about.
I will say, mean, my first initial reaction, and I've told you this, is I'm excited for it, but I've been hurt before, and I'm ready to love this game for like the first month and then start picking it apart for all the lazy details that we noticed that they did. Like, already you can tell, like, some of this just looks like reskinned models that were already in the game. Like,
well, okay, so I want to give you a couple of things that I'm excited about here. Okay, because I wrote down like 5 things here that I'm actually really excited for, and I think they did a good job of presenting it. The profession rework that needed to happen to me, because professions have become a afterthought in World of Warcraft over the past 3-4
it's a joke.
Plus expansions. It's just nothing. It has nothing to do with endgame, which make in the sense of gear, which makes it like, okay, it's just about potions and stuff like that,
Getting a mount. You pick your profession based off of what mount you wanted from that profession.
Yeah, and like, just like you can put in crafting orders now, and it takes the mats that you have and throws them in the order, and then somebody else can fulfill the order for you, and you pay a fee. Like stuff like that. They just made professions more viable. If you're a masterwork professions person, you have like a unique outfit that you could be wearing that is not something that you equipped instead of your gear. It's in addition to, it's its own slot. So I think that's kind of cool. Like, putting a focus, we won't deep dive into that, but like putting a focus on professions I thought was good. New class and race combo. I didn't think we would be saying this, that there would be both, right? Like, we're getting a new race, which is not an allied race. It's just a new race that's available in the game, similar to like Worgans and stuff like that. A new class.
Like pandas, because Worgans are allied.
Are they?
It's alliance only.
I didn't think they were. Oh, I didn't think it was under like the allied races though.
Mhm.
It's not an allied race. It's under the
Oh,
allied
no,
race tab.
no. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, like
But
this is like its own
but this,
playable
I think
race.
you can pick and then say I want to be Horde or Alliance.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a new race, so I think that's
Right.
kind of cool. And a new class being the Evoker, it's going to be a range DPS and a healer. You can choose either or. So a 2-spec class, which I like because they did a good job with Demon Hunter. Like that's one of the more fun classes, if you ask me.
Mhm.
Still, so excited about that. Dragon riding looks cool. Like it reminds me of Guild Wars 2 Flight a little bit, like in terms of you have.
Well, I mean, it's exactly like Guild Wars 2 Flight.
But that's not a bad thing,
No,
right? So
I'm
you
not
have the
knocking 'em.
normal flying, and now you have this new dragon that you customize and make it look unique. I thought that's just great. It's just it keeps, if you're going to be flying so much in WoW, why not make that experience fun?
Right.
You know, and so and then just excuse me, the new UI layout that's available to people, it looks similar to like a UI that we probably are both using with add-ons. So it's nice to like kind of eliminate some of the add-on game and them add some of these features, you know, into the game.
Yeah.
Level cap increasing to 70. We got 5 new zones. Like, you know, it's like we got good info. We have to, it's gonna always be a wait and see now going forward with
Right.
WoW for me.
Yeah, I mean, so first off, I love and they even mentioned it in like the round table of saying like, hey, we understand add-ons will always be a thing, but our ultimate goal is to try to make it to where if you are just a raw new player getting into WoW, you don't have to Google all these add-ons and figure everything out. It's just they're in the game, which is fine because that's exactly how they've always operated. Like, you know, people don't remember a time where like floating combat text was not in the game. Like that was an add-on to see how much damage you did. Before that, in like hardcore vanilla WoW, you just kind of looked at the health bar. There was no floating
that, or
combat.
you read the text like in the chat, you know,
Right,
type thing.
exactly.
And so,
yeah. So I mean that they've always done that. So I love that. You know, I saw some people knock it that they didn't like reveal like a main villain. Like they just kind of said, "Hey, it's this new zone and it's dragons," and they didn't go into the story very much. I'm okay with that for multitudes of reasons. A, let's be real, everyone would just shit on the story no matter what. Like it's just that's how WoW fans are conditioned at this point. You're not, unless you bring back true Horde versus Alliance, I think you're just going to get people complaining about it. So why not wait for it to get closer to the game? But I also
the villain thing I'm also kind of okay with, because like there's been other expansions where it hasn't been focused on one major villain.
right.
You know, it's not the first time. Like Mist of Pandaria wasn't
Well, and
focused
I would
on, like-
honestly rather have him do it this way than a bait and switch like Battle for Azeroth. You know, like Battle for Azeroth, you're like, oh, it's Horde versus Alliance. We're going to fight each other again. And then the expansion pack comes out and you're like, oh,
we're actually friends.
yeah, like this is not
No,
what
yeah,
you said
like
it was.
they can have cool villains still and not make it centered around like this one bad guy that we know we're just going to go kill and then move on from this expansion, right?
Right.
The one thing I forgot to mention that I am most excited about, and I think most old school WoW players will also be excited about, is the bringing back the talent trees. That's huge, because right now with WoW, Tim, I feel like you cannot really customize your character. You just kind of like get in, you level them up, you get the abilities as you level, and that's that, right? Like you don't have to make much of a selection other than the 3 choices you have at every 15 levels or whatever it is, right? And it's like, pick one of these 3. Well, they're doing away with that. And for those of you that have played for a while know that it used to be talent trees. So if you were a druid and you wanted to play feral, for example, but you wanted the ability to like off heal more than basic, right? Like more than the traditional just druid off heals, you can throw some points into the restoration tree and make yourself a little bit stronger that way. So bringing that back, to me, that is awesome. It gives a player, you know, some ownership over their character and how you want to make them. Sure, there's going to be meta type
you'll
builds
always
out
have
there.
cookie cutter builds. It's just
But this gives you the ability to now see how far this goes and how like people will trial certain things, and
yeah.
there'll be something
the-
that wasn't available before that you should be doing now. So I think that's pretty cool.
And I like it because it just allows people to be more customized to like their play style and like their group, right? So
Yeah.
like if we were following a cookie cutter build of, say, which we typically do, the best mage, right? Like I follow the best pyro mage, I'm just going to copy his build and then compare my stats to his, and then I'm going to scratch my head wondering why I'm not keeping up with them. And I'm like, oh, that's right, because he's the best in the world at being a fire mage. Like I don't know, like I don't practice timing and all. So maybe for us to reach a certain goal, it's like, hey, let's have someone else come in here as a DPS, like I think of maybe like a Death Knight, and go a little bit more tanky to be an off tank / DPS guy to help make up for more, maybe the tank is not as beefy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It just allows
it just gives you
groups-
more customization, more to play around with. I think in PvP that's going to be really interesting more than anything, because I think with like Mythic Plus and rating, you're still going to want to play the if you're a DPS player, you're still going to want to play the best DPS build, right? Mythic Plus, same thing. Like, you don't need 2 tanks in Mythic Plus. You barely need 1 nowadays, So it's like there'll still be cookie cutter builds that you'll end up having to do for specific content to really push it. But I think there's enough of other content out there where it's like, okay, I can save this other spec because I want to mess around with it when I'm playing with just me and Tim running around the world doing quests or whatever, or open world PvP. And so I'm still hoping that we see some sort of revamped old zones, considering we're kind of going back into Azeroth. Like, maybe the world around us has like changed, and
you almost think there has to be, though, too, considering like in the round table, they were almost like the tone of the discussion was like, hey, we're adding dragons, and it's like, well, dragons have always been a major part in WoW, so they've have dragons kind of littered throughout Azeroth. I mean, hell, Onyxia was like the first major boss in vanilla. So like I think they will, like I hope anyways, is that they do kind of make you go back to Onyxia's lair or the Caverns of Time, or like
just something to like take you back a little bit through. The issue that I have with how WoW has been the last couple expansions is you get these 5 really cool new zones, whatever. If you don't like them, you don't like them, but you know what I mean. You get 5 to 6 new zones. 3 to 4 of them are leveling zones. So you never really need to go back there unless they like force you to, like they've done in this expansion with your your home base, depending on your covenant that you've chosen. So now you're required to go back to that area. But like outside of that, I never have any need, maybe then other than like daily quests. So it's like 3 or 4 zones are always kind of useless once you hit level cap, and then you just have this one kind of end game zone that people do content in,
that everyone stays in.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel like it takes away that open world aspect. So I'm hoping that they've like just kind of made these places feel larger than life again. They've increased the UI or the view distance in the game that they like really focused on telling us about a lot in the presentation, which makes me think that it really is going to be a big change from where it was at. But I want the world to feel expansive and explorable. Like I want that kind of vibe, especially since we're going to be flying from the start, right?
Yeah,
You're not going to be running around.
Is the fact that they are harping a lot on like kind of redoing the flying, because apart from like Burning Crusade, when they first introduced flying, it's like you don't really use it to adventure a lot. It's like, okay, I can fly over this mountain, but there's nothing really to discover, right? There's no scenery, there's nothing really unique about it. So hopefully that's kind of like you said, just more in play, I guess. Like I said, it's WoW. Our too soon review is going to be that it's awesome and they finally fixed it, and then give it a month and we're going to be like, all right, well, we'll see where we're at. We'll see where we're at with it. So
Yeah, I mean they have they just got to prove themselves all over again every time.
Yeah.
It feels like because it's just such a debacle. So
Yeah,
I'm glad we got some info now. They didn't set a release date. You can go onto the website, sign up for the beta opt-in. So if you haven't done that, guys, make sure to go do that if you're interested in joining a little early to check it out. But I do think we'll now start to like get info will start to like come out now,
Yeah.
and there'll be more like Q&As and I'm sure we'll see an alpha here in the upcoming months, like pretty soon would be my guess. Like I don't think it's that far away. So yeah, I'm always excited for the next expansion. Always, and you just
Yeah.
wait and see if it's going to be any good. What systems are going to put in place? How much grinding is it? Alt friendly? Like there's still so much.
And that's, I think, the thing. A lot of people.
2.0, like
that's a lot of people in the community. What they're asking is like, hey, let's make this more alt friendly. Like my currency and mats should be account wide at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm always okay with a secondary like, hey, you have to like grind this out on your character. That's fine. Just make it like accessible to all of my characters then. Like I don't want to grind this reputation here and then have to go do it 5 more times to play other characters.
Yeah, reputation makes zero sense that it's not account wide at this point, or at least server based, like something along that lines, and maybe have the option of saying like, hey, separate this alt from the others. So like I guess if you do share your account with someone, and you want to have that solo experience, you can say don't follow, like don't make this alt part
There's
of
such a small percentage of people that probably share accounts. It's like, just make shit account wide and like get it over with.
Right. I agree. I'm just saying. I mean, at this point, you could
Fuck them kids, Tim. All right, it doesn't matter about 7 people out there that share accounts.
I mean, again, I don't know who does. I assume everyone just owns their own copy of WoW at this point. But
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm ready to love it. I'm also ready to be so disappointed when I realize that all the new stuff is just reskins from things that we've seen for the last 15 years. But I'm excited. So
I'm waiting for them to announce the release date being like the same date my child is born. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Just looking forward to that because it is. And let me tell you what, the last expansion, or maybe 2 expansions. No, I guess the last one came out right around when Shepard was born, my oldest, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to give me so much time to play WoW. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. All right, let's get into some yikes of the week. Anuj, I'll go first because mine's pretty short. Battlefield, speaking of WoW, to put this into scope here, okay? WoW, this expansion will be patch 10.0. Okay? Now, I know every game does their systems a little different. So it's not apples to apples. I get that. But Battlefield 2042, which has been out for like 5 months, is already on 4.0 update. And on the 4.0 update, Anuj, their big selling point, which I don't even think you can act like this is a selling point, they added voice chat for squads and parties in game.
Yeah, that's big. That. In fact, let me see what it's going for. I'm probably going to reinstall right now, just so I can talk to the 3 other people that are playing on the server.
Like that is unbelievable that's a selling point 5 months into a game. Like, hey, we added voice chat.
They didn't know what they were doing. Like they really didn't. Like they're just so out of touch with what the community wanted. Similar to WoW in a lot of ways, right? Like you release something that you think is great, but you've avoided all fan understanding what the people want, right? And so Battlefield, I think, is going to scrap this game and just move on. Like there's got to be some point where it's like, hey, you know what? It's not worth it to continue working on this game that we've messed up so badly. We just need to go to the next iteration or whatever the next game is. Like get people working on it. Move this, don't even worry about really updating this beyond making sure it's stable for people that still have it, and move on to the next one. Because you're not bringing this one back to life, right? Like, what update would they announce, Tim, that you think would all of a sudden be like, hey, I got to get this game now? It would be so hard.
I don't think there is like one single update. Like, I think it's just going to be almost like a trend over time where you just, okay, this little update brings a little people back. You know, this update brings a couple people back, and this one brings 1,000 people back. And then, you know, 2 years down the road, you start hearing more and more chatter about it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should give this another shot because this streamer's now playing it or whatever. You know, I don't think it's like one update. It's.
I just don't think the small updates in general are going to bring it back either, though, right? But just because like too many people have left, and so you know, even if a couple people trickled, people are not looking for one particular feature. They missed out on so much.
Yeah,
that
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to
like
be.
You would wait like 2 years down the line to be like, oh, okay, now this game has.
You know what they're going to have to almost do? Because I don't think they're going to scrap it with how this one was built out, because this one was supposed to be like kind of built to last the way they were doing like the live updates or whatever they're calling it, is they're going to have to almost do like a grand opening. You know, like some stores will do that. Like they'll remodel, put some new paint on, get a logo change, and then do a reopening like they're all new. They almost have to do something like that like 2 or 3 years from now.
I did read, though, that they are actually planning on just working on the next game. Like some leaker that I follow on YouTube, mentioned that they've already showed, like, I guess, signs that they've already moved on to, like, the next development cycle, and they're hiring for it. And
I think this game was the sign that they moved on. The release of this game was
what a mess.
It is.
What a mess.
It is terrible.
Tim, my yikes is from the world of Valorant. So recently, just this past week, we got word from Sinatra himself saying that, hey guys, I'm back. I'm cleared to play. Looking for a team, you know, hit me up kind of thing, right? I'm just paraphrasing. That's not exactly what he said. So then he shared an email from a internal employee at Riot stating that, hey, you are good. You're cleared to be able to play, and something again along those lines.
And this
giving
email
him
was
back
in like January. This email
was
a
couple months ago, whatever it was. Yeah, so he took that, you know, threw it out there, actually shared the email publicly, and the hunt for Sinatra was on, right? Like you were kind of wondering what teams were going to, were going to be interested in him. You know, rumors were Sentinels wasn't playing with Zoms, and they were already considering him, and it was like, oh shit, like this is moving along quick. Well, hold on right there, Tim. Riot has come out and said that email was an error, and that he should have not received the thumbs up because he hasn't completed like the personal conduct training, which is like a double yikes for me. This is a yikes for Riot giving whoever emailed him, that individual, yikes on him for sending that email and letting him believe that he was good to go.
Right.
But like, this stuff's been going on for a year. Why hasn't he completed this training yet? You know, and a lot of this is like personal accountability. I'm not saying whether Sinatra is innocent or guilty, right? But there is audio evidence out there that makes him look very bad.
Right.
He has never acknowledged that, other than he was a shitty boyfriend. I mean, that's kind of the acknowledgement that we've gotten. The training, I feel like I would have done this like week 3 just to like get it out of the way and move on, so you have all your ducks in order and you're able to go find a team. And like now they said they are actively like working on that with him, but it sounds like he'll be back soon. I don't know how excited I am to necessarily see him back, if we're being honest. Like I do want to say he isn't, again, not guilty of anything, but we all like know a lot about
like
what happened, and it's just, you know, sure, he will get his second chance. He deserves a second chance, especially if you're not found guilty in like criminal proceedings.
There is that sense to it. I will say,
I just need to see like some sort of like remorse from him, or like, I don't know. I feel like we haven't seen anything that makes me believe at least he's sorry for whatever actions he did commit, whether it was hurting her personally or physically. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't see much remorse from him, and maybe that's because he thinks he's 100% truly just didn't do anything wrong other than being a bad boyfriend. But audio was pretty clear, and it makes you look real bad.
I do love in the letter that he received from the Riot employee, where they're like, yeah, you haven't finished your training yet, but I mean, no big deal. I'm sure you already know what's in it. Like, it's like, what How is that like the official statement at the time? Like, you didn't do the training, but hey, it's pretty obvious. Like,
Maybe we should say former employee, because who knows if this guy is still here anymore after that email.
Just don't rate people anymore, right? Like, you got that, Sinatra, right?
You understand what you did was wrong. We're good.
Thanks. Just sign here. Okay, thank you. Move on. Yeah, I'm kind of like with you. I'm sort of 50-50 on the Sinatra bit, because we've seen, and I'm not going to like power rank the shitty things people do, but I would say that we have seen worse or equal to professional athletes get away with stuff and then
100%.
continue to
but
have...
that doesn't make it okay.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, in the realm of, hey, for example, the Deshaun Watson getting signed by the Cleveland Browns in the NFL. Deshaun Watson was on trial or getting investigated for like 20-something women, saying that he sexually assaulted them. They were masseuse and all that. So go look it up if you don't know it. But it was a lot of women, like 20 plus, saying that this quarterback sexually assaulted them. He was MIA all last year, and now this year was signed on to the Cleveland Browns because the cases were dropped and officially on paper, not guilty. So then you have this polarizing situation like with Sinatra where, oh, well, hey guys, he's not guilty, blah, and you get those people saying like, nope, he's not guilty, so therefore he didn't do it, he's innocent. Just because you're not guilty doesn't mean you're innocent, if that makes any sense, right?
Because public opinion is still a thing. There's
right.
like a public court of law as well. It's not just
like I could definitely see, like, do I want Sinatra to be my friend? No. Do I want him to date my daughter? Absolutely the fuck not. But I definitely see from a professional team standpoint why you would be interested kicking the tire a little bit.
I mean, 100%. Like if you're a team that's a fringe team of qualifying for these events, whether that's 100 Thieves or
Sentinels at this point, right?
Yeah, Sentinels. I mean, there's like a number of teams out there, and so obviously there's going to be interest in him. He's a talent, right? So talent alone gets you out of a lot of things. But like I said, in court of public opinion, in Valorant being a heavy female community focused, that just there's like a large female population of Valorant players, like. You don't want that lingering over you, and I feel like he could have done more to try to clear the air, and he didn't, and that's on him. That's okay. That's his choice to do that. But
he desperately needs a PR team, desperately.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Like for him to like throughout all of this, and then tweet out like a picture of him and his current girlfriend like enjoying like a nice lunch on the streets, just saying like live, love, laugh, everyone, loving life with the people you love. It's like, read the room, bro. Like you said, it's like, it's just this sympathy thing even if you are innocent, right? And even if he knows he's innocent, you've obviously somehow, I don't think the victim is completely lying in the sense of like, hey, she had a bad time. And if you're admitting you were this big of a piece of shit boyfriend, show some sympathy towards the situation and how people feel about it. Yeah, it's just... from that again, that's completely separate from him playing. I know some people I've seen is Riot just needs to ban him. Well, on what accord at this point? Like, she dropped the charges, whether it be because it was too stressful and she couldn't handle it or not. The charges were dropped. Nothing was done.
Riot still has the ability to ban without legal proceedings. So,
of
like
course.
You mentioned Deshaun Watson, right? Look at Zeke Elliott, kind of the same scenario. Like, even though they're going to be found guilty in court of law, and that's where they could still get a further ban from.
And that's where I think the one suspension works out, right? Like, hey, you weren't found guilty, but we're just going to suspend you because shit happened, and we'll go with that. Now, for him still not doing the training and everything, how there wasn't even a deadline on that, I don't really understand either from Riot's point of view. I guess because maybe
it's been a year. Like, let's get that going. Like,
maybe they thought, hey, you know what? If he never comes back, let's not worry about it, type of thing. I don't know, but come on. So, you know what though? Riot can have fun with that one, because when he does get signed to a team, because I do think he will get signed to a team, it will be entertaining to say the least for us bystanders. So, looking forward to that one. Let's do you want to just keep it on
Let's keep it on the Valorant train.
the Valorant train as we talk some VCT Master catch up. As we let me pull up these here.
Like, we're close here. Okay, so we're down to the semifinals. We have the upper finals to go and the lower finals to go. I would say that this does not look anything like I thought it would coming down to the wire here. I mean, we've basically eliminated all of EU, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I figured that though. EU's trash.
Well, all of EU has been eliminated. G2 was just eliminated by Paper Rex, who also took out the guard. So, kind of took out one NA team, took out one EU team.
Paper Rex being an APAC team, by the way.
A what team?
APAC?
Yeah, they're Singapore.
Right.
Yeah,
Asian Pacific. Is it Asian
versus
Pacific?
a little bit more of a familiar name in the lower bracket. So Paper Rex is going to be playing Zeta Division. They've changed their name last year or something. So they've kind of been around. But it's just surprising to me that a team like Liquid, although they got a free play card to come and join this event, they didn't make it a little bit further. G2, I think, not making it at least into the lower finals was disappointing. But it's one of those things where people are catching up. And I don't think the skill gap is as far as we were led to believe finishing up last year's champions event with Gambit winning it all, right? It felt like there was this huge gap between hey, you have EU and NA, right? Really neck and neck. And then you had everybody else. Everybody else is right there now.
Zeta, even though it's been that org, like you said, here for the most part for Japan, they seemed so far behind the last international event. Japan was the laughing stock of, they did the hype video and people are saying oh man, look at these guys. They look like anime villains. That might've been me who said it. I don't know. And now it's oh shit. They're finally playing up to par. I do think it's funny. All the whining about Liquid making it in and how it's not fair that they're getting points and blah, blah, blah. They ended the same as Fun Plus Phoenix. So I think we can calm down a little bit. They got 200 points and $25,000, which is the same thing they gave Fun Plus Phoenix. So
yeah.
I mean, all that for naught. Liquid ended up getting exactly in the same place as Fun Plus. Still, I don't know if, fair or whatnot, but it's not they made it to the finals.
Even though we did say, majority of the best teams have been eliminated, it's still obvious that NA is far superior to any region, with Optic being where they're at. It's not even really that close. Let's be real, Tim. We're just too good.
It is funny how Riot puts on these events, and it's little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, a little Sinatra style email, hey, Optic, you got to go to this tournament, but you know what's going to happen. I mean, you don't have to do it.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, come on, don't worry about it.
I mean, Optic has played. In fact, for those that don't remember, Optic was under the Envy banner and now changed names, but these guys look scary, dude. It's funny because I haven't watched every single one of Optic's matches, but I feel like the 3 or 4 that I've watched, FNS has been the star player for them at times. And when I say star player, I'm talking outside of the IGL role. Some of the most important clutch kills. He was top fragging in a couple of the games, and I was what the hell is going on here? Now, obviously, Ye is doing Ye things.
Ye's being
Marved is incredible, and Victor to me is an X Factor player for them. If Victor plays well, they seem to really roll. But FNS, I just never thought he's going to be in position where he needs to carry from a fragging standpoint, and they've gotten through a couple of these matches because of his fragging ability.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, with Optic, after that first round matchup against the Guard, which sent Guard to losers, or eliminations, as I saw on Twitter. People don't like that it's called losers because it's mean, I guess.
Loser bracket, it's what it is.
Don't lose, and you won't go to that bracket, I guess, if you have an issue with it. But they sent them down. Even after that first map on Icebox, Optic won 13-7, but Guard won those first 4 maps by defusal on the second half, almost making it looked like this. It had the vibes of a mini comeback, right? Because I mean, for the most part, it was. They tied it up just about. And so even after that first map, I was like, okay, Optic was the lower NA seed going into this. So even though like your brain is telling you, oh, Optic should win and be the favorite, on paper they weren't. They were the lower seed. And I'm like, oh shit, even though they won the Icebox, I don't feel that great about them. But man, from that point, like you said, it's like, oh, they're just making it work. Like it's just, they're doing the exact opposite of what every other NA team seems to fail at. And it's just making it work through hitting their shots, but also like their rotations seem on point. Their strats, their IGLing, as you said, from FNS is on point. Like it's coming
They just
together.
look like a good, well-rounded team right now. You know, like they have their roles in place. You know, it's been interesting from an agent standpoint. Like I feel like we know what the meta is now, you know, and I do really enjoy seeing Chamber. Like you know, this feels like the first real big event where he's like kind of been involved, and I'm having a lot of fun watching his gameplay. Like I catch myself like, kind of want to get back on and play with this guy a little bit more, but
and then you do, and you're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's like maybe not my guy. No, but like I think we've seen a little bit more variety in character pool than we saw like even at the major. So either they're doing a good job balancing. Obviously, I know some of it is also map dependent, team dependent to a certain extent, but
poor
Yoru,
like
we've seen like 10 plus agents like in play, you know, at this event, which is a lot when it's like you're thinking, oh, this is all the top teams in the world right now. Their metas are probably going to be fairly similar, but like in reality,
we have overall 11 agents with a 27 or above pick rate. The next one is at 22. So I mean, you know, 12,
which is probably Ash. I think I saw that it was Astro when I was looking at it earlier.
Yeah,
which is crazy because like Astro was like 100% pick rate in the major. You know, like Astro was on every single team Astro was played, and now they've obviously nerfed her and changed, you know, they nerfed her and boosted some other characters, and now she's sitting in a low 20s, you know, played, and she was literally like a 650+%, you know, pick. And so, you know, Neon, the newest edition, hasn't been played a ton, but I have seen, I think it was it Victor or who was it on Optic that shit, I don't remember. But somebody on Optic was playing her, and you know, she has some viability. It kind of excited to see how that grows, but we've seen like her used effectively, and so, you know, like I said, I think we're getting, considering how many agents there are, to have 11 that were played in the event, I don't feel like that's bad. I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, the more agents being used, the better. I feel bad for Yoru after getting what was supposed to be a little love and some buff. I feel like Chamber cucked him out of his picks. Like, I feel like any situation that you would have used Yoru in, you're like, we can just use Chamber. Like, he gets you better guns faster. He can jump back and forth without, you know, like the teleport or whatever you want to call it, while still being able to shoot pretty much because it's instant. So there's still some work to do on that tail end, but overall, I'm enjoying the Masters so far, especially as we're seeing these top teams compete. You have Optic versus Loud, the Brazilian team, on the 22nd, and then as well as the 22nd, you have Zeta versus
Paper
Rex. So they will both be good, but I'm kind of curious to see what these numbers are going to look like for the viewership, because I feel like the viewership is already somewhat low, like even for Optic matches. Now, let me pump the brakes on that though, because Riot allows like anyone to do a viewing party.
Yeah,
I'm watching the main
in
stream.
co-streams, it's been
true.
decent.
That is true. All right, I'll take that back. I did not look at co-stream numbers, so I'm sure it actually is doing well. I was going to say, it seems kind of low, but I'm probably the only noob watching the mainstream.
Mainstream.
So, hey, can we take 5 seconds here so I can just rant for a second?
Go for it.
Because as much fun as we're having watching NA just wipe the floor with the world, it is 2022, Anuj. You see this lovely Razer wireless Death Adder, newly acquired. Just a couple months ago, I talked about it on the show that I bought it. Prior to this, I used the same mouse every day, used and abused it for like 8 years. Never once had a tech issue with it. What in God's name are these players doing to their equipment that requires so many tech pauses?
You know, I wish there was like some sort of answer around it, because like some of these BO3s are like 4-hour events now because
Dude,
there's so many pauses, and it's like, just get this shit right, please. Like,
Like,
we're
I
on
can't-
land. We shouldn't be having these issues.
there was one map, I think it was like early on. It was like 3 hours in and we got like one map down. I was like,
Yeah.
guys, like I can't.
I think that was like on day 1 or something.
Right.
I don't
It's
know,
like-
it was early, yeah.
This is why we struggle to like have esports be on TV or like be with the big boys, because you can't set your schedule around it at all. It's not even like, hey, well, you know, both matches went to map or round 13 and then overtime. No. We'd be okay with that. What I don't need is seeing these desk analysts who are very capable of at their job filibuster for 40 minutes as some guy is trying to figure out why his mouse is having like a 0.01 delay compared to normal.
Yeah, you know, I'm at that point in life, Tim, where if there's a tech delay,
I'm out.
I've moved on.
I'm out.
Like, I'll catch the highlights, or I'll just look at the score later on, but there is no more sitting around waiting, listening to analysts talk for an hour and a half to get us by. Like, it doesn't work anymore.
No, I was talking in Discord when it was happening. I was like, and this is why I have to watch all my esports on VODs pretty much, because, you know, you tell the wife and kids, like, hey, let me just watch this one match. It's okay, no big deal. And then 40 minutes later, you're 3 rounds in, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I gotta go. I'm like, sorry.
It's like not even worth waiting for
No,
anymore.
so get that figured out, and this would be an A+. But right now, the tech pauses are hurting you. Either way, though, it's been great. Sorry, EU, that you suck. But everything else has been right on point.
And how the tides are about to turn here in just a moment.
Yeah,
So-
before we get to that, because we are on the Valorant talk anyways, what do you think of the new agent, Fade? Wolf is saying in chat that he feels like it's going to be a meta pick instead of Breach.
So I want to be honest with you. I just saw the picture of the agent. I don't know what else they've released. It looks like Reyna and Sova had a child and created this little
This is true.
character that came out, but I haven't seen any of the abilities for the character, so can't really comment too much on that. What's the name of the character again?
Fade. Fade.
You talk about the agent for a second. I'm going to watch this.
Well, she has abilities called Seize, Haunt, Prowler, and Nightfall, Anuj. Seize is her ultimate, equip and fire an orb, which will stay in the air for a max of 1.5 seconds and then slam to the ground. When the orb hits the ground, enemies within the radius will be tethered and will take damage and be deafened. Be deafened. So, I don't know. I'll have to play around with her to see. So here's my thing with this insta meta thing, to Wolf's point. I always feel like every new agent is going to be in the new meta, just because when you see the reveal video, you look at their abilities and you're like, my God, this looks so OP'd. And then the pros get a hold of it and you're like, oh, never mind, it kind of sucks. So have to wait and see.
Every agent looks awesome when they release it.
Right.
And it's just you kind of wait and
Like
see.
Yaru looked incredible when they first released them, and now it's like whatever. And now, to your point, people forget that they even released that one lightning chick. I don't even know her name off the top of my head. So it's, you know, we'll see. I'm so conditioned to be like Heroes of the Storm, for those who back in the day, shout out to all my Heroes of the Storm fanboys, was the superior MOBA, in my opinion. But Blizzard, it was a running joke in that community that anytime Blizzard released a new hero, you had about 2 weeks to play that hero and have like a 99% win rate, because every new hero in that game was so ridiculously overpowered. And because obviously you had to buy them, right? So it's like the theory is Blizzard made them ridiculously powerful.
So you want to buy them, then they nerf them eventually.
So people would be like, whoa, the win rate's like 90%. I got to get this thing. And then, yeah, they eventually nerf. But Riot doesn't
That's not really the
do
case
that.
with Riot, though.
No. I was going to say, it almost seems like people are more hesitant to get the new heroes because they're not as good and they're waiting for them to get buffed. So we'll wait and see. But what we will not wait and see is Counter-Strike, because the RMR EU A and B, yes, that's right, EU has to have 2 RMR events for the major because the region is so stacked they can't fit them all in one, because that would just be called the major if they did. But it is going on. I think overall pretty exciting. I want to talk about A real quick, because
Do we want to talk about NA at all? Are we going to do any NA talk on this? Because we can zip through that and just get it out of the way real quick.
Okay. If you want, just rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm going to just rip the Band-Aid off.
Just rip it off.
EG did not qualify, unfortunately. We only have 2 true NA teams that made it through with Liquid and Complexity. I love Complexity, but let's be real. They're not winning the major. They're probably not even going to be a real threat to get very far. They're still young. They need to grow. Again, I don't mind the team. It's just I'm going to be realistic here. Liquid have somewhat of an outside chance looking in to be competitive, but I think they've taken a step back from just where they were a year ago. So Evil Geniuses getting knocked out by 9Z was super disappointing. That team had so many big names on it, from Stewie, Automatic, like these guys. You just expected more. You just expected more, and they fell short. And I know they took it seriously, so I'm not even going to knock them for like not trying. It's just we're in such a crappy spot. We got 3 Brazilian teams, 1 South America team, and 2 NA teams, make it through. Furia did take tops in the group. MIBR came in second. Surprisingly, Imperial came in third. That's Fallen's new project. And then Complexity, Liquid, and 9Z. So those are going to be your teams for the Americas qualifiers that made it through. Now on to the real show.
Real quick on the Evil Geniuses, though. I really, like you said, I don't want to knock them because of course they tried. Of course they wanted to qualify. I don't know how you don't qualify with that type of roster, though. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't make a ton of sense. I mean, like you can't lose games. You just can't lose the games that they lost. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. It's just they just had a nightmare scenario here. You have to be able to beat the teams you're supposed to beat and save the losses against like Liquid. I know that was one of the teams that they
lost
did
to
lose
Liquid,
to.
And honestly, I guess that just tells you how tight it was, right? They went 3-2 and failed to qualify, losing to Liquid and Pain Gaming. Like that was the team that they lost to first and basically sent them home. If you really want to look at it that way, because it's the one that they really should have won. But again, it was another Brazilian squad. So it's not good for EG. I honestly don't know what they need to do. Maybe they should contact Sinatra and see if he wants to switch over to CS at this point. I don't know. But I don't know how you can, other than like maybe one of the players have just completely tapped out, maybe Rush is like, you know what, I'm out, and he just wasn't playing with heart. But at this point, I really don't know what you can say about Evil Geniuses.
And they were up 12-7 on map 3 and also blew that lead, So it was just, they had a good first half in that game, in their map 3 against 9Z. They just blew it. They really just blew it is the easiest way to put it. And so it's unfortunate that this is where we're at with NACS right now, is we're going to be relying on Liquid and Complexity to make a run. And I think the chances of either of those really happening are like really quite low. Like to even make it interesting to follow, I don't know how possible it's going to be for them.
I agree.
I think a top 10 finish for an NA team would be a win.
Yeah, we're World Cup status at this point. Like we're just happy to be there, and Anything
like
else?
make it out of that contender stage or whatever it's called, and it's like, okay, like that's our run.
We're fine with that.
Yeah.
Looking in the EU side of it though, on the other side of the pond, where the real talent is at, and we are seeing that on full force. EUA, RMR A. I will say this: I am still shocked at how Heroic and Big, who have took first and second in that respective group, or whatever you want to call it, tournament thingy. I am shocked on how that happened, because we saw especially Big kind of falter. Heroic, I'm honestly astonished that they were able to survive the coaching bug scandal last year. I mean, there were talks that Heroic might not even be an org at this point, right? Like they were in serious danger zone territory to collapsing, because it was like they've lost sponsors because of it, and then it was the coach was also rumored to be giving away strategy. Like it was just one after the other, and they kind of fell off for a little bit, but now they look strong. I watched the match against Na'Vi, and it wasn't even like Na'Vi played bad. There was a few rounds where I felt like maybe Na'Vi gave Heroic too much respect, especially that last round on Nuke that ended up making the winning round, which, I don't want to harp on I don't think they would have won the map anyways, but like that round, it was like Heroic planted the bomb in B site. But even then, before that, it was like Na'Vi was on the outskirts of the site, one on A. Heroic went to go plant the bomb, faked it, looked around, no one pushing. Okay, let's roll back over to the other side of the site, plant the bomb. The bomb's planted. No one's pushing. 5 seconds go by. No one's pushing. And we're like halfway through the bomb timer, and finally Na'Vi pushes in to retake the site. And it's like, I felt like that was just too much respect for Heroic. Not saying that they don't deserve it, but I'm just saying is you are relying on a flawless retake at that point. Like the bomb is halfway down with the timer, one hiccup, and you're not, even if you get the kills, you can't defuse it, right? Like Heroic can play around that timer at that point. And it was like little things like that is what stood out with me against Na'Vi, where I'm like, man, they're not playing with that same swagger they had last year. Still good, don't get me wrong. I mean, it was the only game they've lost so far, but
yeah, like, I mean, to me, Heroic is just a really good team. I mean, regardless of the coach, like the coach can only do so much. Theirs obviously put them in a more compromised position than like what a coach is supposed to do. But like Heroic's really good, and they've proven that. Anybody that knocks them for, oh, well, they didn't do it all the time on land, but yeah, they still did it on land too. It's not like they did not perform at all on land. Right. It's just, hey, you lost some big games to teams like Na'Vi or Vitality. I mean, like, okay, that stuff's going to happen. But with the Swiss format too, Tim, like we've been around long enough. It's so much luck of the draw on how it goes, right? So yeah, Heroic gets through 3-0, but they took out Forza in their first BO1. Then they beat Na'Vi or Fnatic in their second BO1. Fnatic's been struggling, and we'll talk about them here briefly in a second, but Fnatic's out of the event, and so not an overly impressive win. And then you got to go up against Na'Vi, and as big of a win as that is, like we've seen this before with Heroic and Na'Vi. Like Heroic's beaten Na'Vi a couple different times. They've been very competitive against Na'Vi several times in some of their losses. So I think it's just a testament to their continued hard work for them. Big to me is probably a little bit more surprising because Big is so up and down, but like it always feels like to me when Big is on, they're like really, really good. But again, look at who they beat. They had Saw in their first matchup. Don't even know who they are. Outsiders, which is
that's VP.
VP. And so that to me is like a really good win. And then their BO3, they beat FaZe, who just qualified today 2-0, So like they had a more difficult path and had to prove themselves to get there, and they were able to do that. So kind of like different sides of the tape for both of them, And so Look, I mean, I think with the way the EU RMR is going to go is we're going to have 16 amazing teams make the major, and then we're going to have 5 or 6 very good teams don't end up qualifying, and that's just the way it's going to have to be for EU. So, I don't care who gets in on the 3-0s or the 3-1s or the 3-2s. Like, it doesn't really matter. You're just playing to get in right now. To me, the bigger storyline is like a Vitality, Tim. Like, they're sitting here at 2-2 on the brink of elimination.
Yeah,
And,
that roster
they
is
have,
not what I thought it was going to be, right?
like, if Vitality doesn't make it, how big? I mean, we could think that it's big that EG didn't make it, but if Vitality doesn't make it, that is
No, that makes it look a lot better that EG didn't make it.
that's a monstrous story.
As
at
an
that point.
NA fan, that's what you want to happen. Like, Mouse has to beat them tomorrow. So that way it's just like, as an NA fan, you can always just be like, yeah, well, look what happened with Vitality.
And why are they playing? I don't understand why they're playing Mouse, because there's 6 teams at 2-2, right? Vitality, according to the draw, is the highest seeded of those 2-2, and Mouse is like at number 3 or 4. They're like right there. So I'm a little confused on how those match up. Maybe you can't play somebody that you already played, or however that might work out. But
I think that's part of it. I think that's it. I'm not.
is that it?
I think
mean,
so.
Either way, a super scary spot for Vitality to be in, because Mouse to me is, if not the next best team in that 2-2 lineup. They're right up there, and so they got some dangerous players, and that's not a gimme win, at all. So
I'm gonna allow the experts to figure out the format, because that was like last week. I had it in the show notes, like how they kept switching up the format, and I'm like, bro, I can't even figure this out, even if I was writing it down. So,
well, as of right now, the teams that have made it through are Heroic, Big, FaZe, Forza, and Navi.
how is Forza allowed to play under their banner? Because that is a Russian org with a full Russian team. Did I miss something? Have they been like outspoken anti-Russia? Like what?
Maybe they said something. Yeah, I have no idea. It's a good question.
Yeah, I thought the blanket.
Maybe everyone forgot they existed, and
you know what? That's probably a better. That's probably closer to reality than anything else. So, oh my god, I just saw on Wikipedia Hellraiser's like old or like their new logo.
it's the Russian flag.
It's remember it's those weird red eyebrows. Like, man, how could anyone? And they're but thoughts and prayers, because they're a Ukrainian team. But
I'm going to need you to carry the show for about 15 seconds here while I go blow my nose. I'm going to leave my headset on so I can be a professional and still hear what you're saying and chime in when I get back here.
totally, no, yeah, this Hellraiser's logo is just unbelievably bad, and I forgot how bad it was. But there is that. Switching over to the B side of the European RMR, I would say is the less exciting of the two. Still more than qualified teams to be there, but not like top notch, right? You have G2, which I'm trying to think what G2. Oh no, I'm thinking G2 Valorant. But they also were really bad in the Valorant, where they blew an enormous lead. That, though, the B side for EU will start tomorrow, or on the 21st, rather, so here in a couple days. But I do think for their side, on the B side, G2 is obviously going to have to be the ones that come out on top. I'm curious to see Astralis, because especially with how Vitality is playing, you kind of always have to assume, like, when I think Vitality and Astralis, I think of them back to back every single time, because Astralis being broken up and half of them going to Vitality. So I always view them to be kind of the same rivalry, like built-in rivalry. But then you have players, which is Gambit, right? They're just not flying under the Gambit thing because of the whole Russia-Ukraine war.
Is it just me, or does Group A seem like a little bit easier?
No, Group A?
Or Group B, I'm sorry. Group
Yeah,
B.
no, yeah. Group B doesn't seem nearly as stacked.
Like, I get that we got G2 and Gambit in there.
I don't know how it was figured out. I don't know how these groups were sorted out, but
it just feels like this one's like way less stacked. Like you have two good teams. NIP, I'm yet to call them a good team until I see Device back and playing, which who knows if that's happening anytime soon. You know, Entropic, Copenhagen Flames, like good teams. And had a nice little run here recently. Charlotte's
they
average,
always?
you know, like, but a bunch of teams that I'm like, wow, like I would have loved to have been in this group if I was, you know, just again, Heroic, FaZe, Navi, Vitality, VP, OG, Mouse. You know, we thought maybe Fnatic could do something, but that was obviously a lie. I mean, it's just much deeper on the other one, and so I expect teams like G2, Gambit, and NIP, like these should all be for sure qualifiers, right? You could probably throw in Tropic and Copenhagen Flames in there. You know, I feel like it's just a little bit more decided on 6 or 7 of the teams from Group B to kind of make it through. And I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 surprises, but it seems a lot more clear cut if you ask me, at least.
Yeah, for sure. And then real quick before we move on, the Asian Pacific RMR, let's break this down. It was a whopping 4 teams, 3 of which are on orgs. 1 is currently looking for an org. Tyloo, big story here. Tyloo failed to qualify. So,
you know, it's always been the same 2 teams that we expect from that kind of. We have Renegades and we have Tyloo.
Just send them,
like
send
a
them to the
staple
major
as a team in the major. And for a Mongolian team, IHC, to take that top spot, so awesome. So happy for those guys.
The first time ever that a Mongolian team is going to the major, qualified for the major. So awesome to see IHC esports. It does suck for Tyloo, but like you said, they have had their moment to shine for these majors, and it's the running joke for me that people are bitching about too many slots for NA making it in and they suck, and I'm like, hold up. If Tyloo can get a spot, I think anyone can get a spot. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's gotta be disappointing for Tyloo, but it is cool to, you know, see a new team in the mix from that region. Because let's be real, Tyloo's never done anything in the major. They're just there. They're a representative for their region, but it is cool to have some new representation, and just seeing that region is still like developing to a certain extent. I mean, it's still obviously lacking in a lot of ways, but we have a new name in the mix, and I'll take that.
Yeah, you know, who knows? Maybe they make that Cinderella run. I highly doubt it, but it's just good to see some new faces. That is faux show. All right, so there is some RMR talk for you. Anything else on that before we head into e-news?
No, man, it is getting me just excited for major time, and even more excited for IEM Dallas more than anything. Just watching all this good. I mean, we're really getting great CS even for the RMR events. Like, it's been exciting and fun to watch, and captivating at times, especially in the NA region towards the end. Like, watching the excitement behind some of these teams making it through. Like, it gets me excited to see it. So
yeah, between VCT Masters and the RMR, I mean, it's just been a good level of FPS esports, if that's what you're into. All right, what I'm into is some e-news, because we have quite a bit to get through here. In CSGO, FaZe returned to number 1 in the rankings. Oh, is this old? Or are they back at number 1?
They are at number 1 right now.
That might have been from last week.
Well, I just want to highlight, Tim, that FaZe is at number 1.
Just phase up, man.
It's exciting.
Just phase up. Overactive Media shuts down Mad Lion CSGO after a 15... I didn't see this beforehand. After a $15 million net loss.
That's massive, dude. That's so big.
That is, and they have
things. They have a $15 million net loss. Think of some of these bigger orgs that hopefully they found a way to make money on it, but that is insane. I mean, the fact that they even let it get that high is kind of crazy, if you ask me.
Wasn't Mad Lions were they part of the franchise teams for Flashpoint, or were they just always involved with Flashpoint?
No, yeah, I think they were like
They
one
were.
of the
They were a
franchises,
founding member. I looked it up right here. Yeah.
So that we know where 2 million of that went.
Right. Oh, blame Flashpoint. In Valorant news, Wardell has practiced with version 1. However, he is still undecided on what to do with his future, whether he wants to go pro still, focus on content creation, things, whatever. We'll see. Obviously, he's just probably feeling his offers and where he's at mentally with it, but it would suck because he is like a top tier NA talent, and I definitely think he can make a difference on the team. However, I totally get it from a professional's point of view. Like, I don't think people realize there is such a difference of playing Valorant for 12 hours a day and practicing Valorant for 12 hours a day. Like, the mental wear and tear on the difference of you and I playing for 12 hours a day, which, okay, like that will ever happen again.
A dream.
But Wardell sitting down with team, it's completely different. So I understand where he's like, you know what, I'm kind of digging this not being on a team life here for a little bit. So we'll test the waters. 100 Thieves roster announced. Asuna, Bang, Stellar, Will, and Derek.
So wait and see. You know, they've made so many changes, and 100 Thieves I know they're looking for that right mix. They've gone younger and like kind of fresher talent. So excited to see what that produces.
Asuna being the final and last member of the original 100 Thieves roster, so it's crazy to see that turnaround already.
Well, like what big names 100 Thieves had at one point? To think they had Nitro, Ethan, Hiko, Steel, like that was like the CS:GO lineup, and it kind of shows like it's not about the game that you played, it's about the time that you have in the. It's a new game, regardless of how close it is to CS. It's still completely different in its way, right? So, kind of crazy to see.
And I do like obviously this is DDK's and Sean Garris's first attempt at the roster, right, since becoming coach and GM. And they did say in their little reveal video that like it wasn't just about skill, is that they're really looking for roster chemistry and for people to be in their specific role. So rather than looking at like, hey, we can get Wardell, he's the best person, he might be the best talent at the moment, but does he fit what we want for this team, or are we doubling up on roles? Would we have 2 oppers? Would we have 2 people with this type of personality? That's how they were looking at it. So I'm very curious to see A, how they perform, and B, if it's not well, how long are you going to stick with it? Because if it's about chemistry and building up on that, you kind of got to give it some time. Now, VCT doesn't allow you to have some time, but we'll see. It was been reported that CNED turned down a $1 million offer, a 1-year, $1 million offer from an org called Bleed Esports to stay on Ascend for now as they're working on their kind of rebuild. Which, you know what? Money's a lot, but money's not everything. I don't necessarily blame him for not leaving Ascend to go play for Bleed Esports.
I mean, I want to know what he's making now.
Like if it's like 900,000, it's like,
hey, Ascend offered him 900K. They offered him $1 million, so he stuck with Ascend. Okay, great deal. Now if Ascend's offering him like 250, and he turned down $1 million. Go suck for a little bit. It's okay.
Suck for a year.
You'll be okay,
And then obviously we talked about earlier the new Agent Fade, which we'll give more into detail when we can actually play. In Call of Duty news, the LA Guerrillas have announced that they are sticking with Spart. Gunless is riding on the bench as their 5th man. I think is only the right decision. I mean, we talked about it last time on what you do, and we kind of both said you ride the hot stick at this point. And, you just won a major with Spart. Kind of hard to tell him to sit down. So they're riding with that. New York subliners are reevaluating their roster to the point of doing open tryouts. Now, I assume open tryouts are still like professional tryouts. I don't think you and I could sign up, but maybe we could. Maybe we have some connections there. You never know. So there's that. Also, I saw that they were even practicing without Crim 6. So, I mean, they're trying everything at this point. In Overwatch 2, the new hero Sojourn was she's been out there, but at least a little bit more revealed for her. Neat little story behind this one, though, that Jeff Kaplan, I guess, named her after a female fan who wrote in saying, hey, how come there aren't any more black female heroes? How come there's not as many? And he's like, you know what? There is, and I'm naming them after you. So that's pretty good, dude, Jeff Kaplan.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That's a cool story.
In FPS news, Halo Infinite player count lower than Master Chief Collection on Steam. Yikes. Though a little misguided because their average player count is still more than Master Chief Collection. However, Halo Infinite is like a brand new free-to-play game. You should not even be like, that should not even be like, yeah, well, guys, the numbers are miscued because of this.
We shouldn't be finding technicalities to justify any of this right now. It
shouldn't even be in a discussion. So either way you spin it, it's not very good. On that note, it is a shame that Halo Infinite, the game, has failed Halo Infinite esports, because that FaZe Invitational this week, man, it was so entertaining. Halo esports is so fun to watch. It just sucks because you feel like the growth is so hindered by the game itself. But Optic ended up defeating Cloud9 3-0 in the finals. Optic looks insane with their new roster, with Formal officially on it. They went 18-1 on map count. They lost one map all event. On map 5 of the finals, Formal went 35-14 with a 24 KDA.
I mean, Formal is just... There's going to be like a cool documentary about this guy at some point when he retires, because he's, to go back and forth the way that he has and compete at the level that he does. I mean, it's really just, it's absolutely insane. I mean, he's tearing it up. He's making, I mean, he's already become one of the best in the game. And this is a game he had taken 5 years off of,
right, like,
so.
And I think some people thought, oh, okay, well, he's retiring from Call of Duty. He's going back to Halo to be a little retirement project, just something to keep him busy. And then he drops a 35-14 game. That's insane. Like, no, this is not a retirement project for him. He's all in. In FGC news, we had the Genesis 6 happen over the weekend. MKLeo becomes the 4th time Smash Genesis champ, beating Gluttony, I think so you'd say that, in the finals. Mango is eliminated like very early on. Melee is in a weird funk here, and maybe Melee fans will be yelling at me for saying this, but the old gods are kind of taking a back seat, A, because they're just getting older and life is catching up. B, I think they're just, gearing more towards content. I think because they weren't able to do as many online events during COVID, like Ultimate, it's just shifted. Melee, I feel like, is losing ground for maybe the first time in forever.
Ultimate has done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like, I know people live in the old days when it comes to this, but Ultimate is like a very good game.
I know
it's a polished game.
People will be yelling at us for that, but
I get it. I mean, look, if we had the option right now to play Counter-Strike 1.6, there would still be a hardcore fan base for that game. But like CS:GO is like shinier, newer, feels better. That's how I feel about Ultimate. Like, as a casual player, Ultimate is like shinier, newer, like models look better, worlds look better. So eventually that shift is going to happen. Like, we're getting pretty far out for when Melee was debuted.
Yeah. Rogue and in other news, Rogue and London Royal Ravens parent company Rect Global has been bought for $470 million by Metaverse company. Interested because London Royal Ravens have been kind of, both those EU teams, especially Paris. Paris needs to do something for CDL, but we'll see now.
470 million though. That is like
it's a pretty
absurd
big
number.
I wonder what Steve Aoki got, because he was part of Rogue. I wonder if he's still part of that, or if he got a nice little thing. So I remember, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't necessarily know what Rect Global is. I remember when they've kind of broke onto the scene, laughing at them that they spelt Rect, R-E-K-T, and thought no one would take them serious. And here they are spending $500 million. So maybe I'm the idiot. I don't know. QuakeCon announced that they will once again be going digital this year, August 18th through the 20th. I mean, I've said it before, QuakeCon is actually almost a more fun event online. Like, they do such a good job of throwing an online event in their Discord. I'm not even that upset about it. It does suck to see. They did say they plan on doing an in-person event next year. It's just, it takes too long to set up, like in the Gaylord, because they always do it in the Gaylord here in Texas. So it's just, they were like, the timing, it just, the uncertainties and trying to book everything, it wasn't going to work out. So I get it. Could also be that there's nothing to show off at QuakeCon nowadays, but maybe a little bit of both.
Just go digital with it. We need the money.
Gotta wait for the next Fallout before we do anything else. Big Sega news. Sega development is in talks for 2 big budget games, Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi. Anuj, those are some old school games from our generation.
Very much so.
I'm very excited. Also,
Crazy Taxi was a lot of fun, dude.
Game changer.
It was. It really was. It was a great game.
John Wick the creator of John Wick is set to write and produce a Street of Rage game. So do you know what Street of Rage is? It's like an old school kind of like side scroller beat 'em up game, kind of like the Ninja Turtle style.
Kick 'em off type thing.
Type of thing like that.
I think I vaguely remember. I have to see a video.
So that's an old school game. I remember playing that in the arcade. And then last but not least, Logitech is getting involved with NASCAR as they are partnering and sponsoring 2311 Racing. Anuj, that's Michael Jordan's team.
Oh, is it really? Yeah. That's pretty badass.
If you look at it, it's 23XI. I don't know why they did it, but it's 2311 is how you say it. It's infuriating, but whatever. It's Michael Jordan.
What is the 11?
So Denny Hamlin is the other owner of the team, and he's also a driver, and his number's 11. So they did 2311. So it's not the most original name for a team, but you know, when you're Michael Jordan, you can just put 23 in anything and it works. So
yeah, and to be a driver and owner, that's also that's pretty badass.
Yeah. So there you go. That's it for episode 380 of the Centering Esports podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Whether you skipped around, tuned in live, listened to the whole darn thing, love you all the same. We will be back next week, talk more Iceland, as it's probably will be wrapped up by the time we record.
It will be, yep.
And
we should have the RMRs pretty much decided at that point too. So
we will have the major
recap of a recap next week.
Yeah, pretty much. And what else? Whatever else comes up in the esports world. Maybe Sinatra finishes his training. Who knows? Probably not. But we'll find out. But all that will be for next week, as we will go play Destiny 2, maybe a little bit of WoW, maybe a little bit of Counter-Strike, whatever other game that we've been playing for the last 20 years that we just keep coming back to because there's nothing else out there. But follow us on Twitter @TheCenterRing. Join our Discord, be a part of the conversation there, all that fun stuff. For Anuj, I'm Tim. Love your face. See you next time. Bye.